regular board meeting of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners. Good morning. My name is Maricel Hernandez. I'm the chairwoman. Seated to my left is Commissioner Jonathan Swain, and to my right is Commissioner William Cressy. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any proposed changes or edits? If not, we'll go on to the approval of the minutes, and there are no minutes today. So we will proceed with the Executive Director's report. Mr. Gough.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. First of all, I'd like to let the board members know there are a couple of items happening in the next couple of days. The one most important is we have a meeting in this office at 3 o'clock on Wednesday to talk about pretrial detainees. That is an issue that I have raised about how we handle their voting at 26 in Cal. And there are other locations around the state. Not only pretrial detainees, but the city and counties talking about getting into the business of issuing IDs. Then one of the reasons they said they wanted to issue IDs is people that have been incarcerated. Well, why doesn't the state, which has control of IDs, give everybody that leaves prison an ID to get their life started again? So it's something that I've brought up to several people. I think it's got some traction. I hope to work on this more, but it's something that needs to be done, I think. There are a lot of people that come that serve their time and don't know that they can vote again. And it's something that I think I'm trying to work on getting that straightened out. So I just want to let the board members know.
Which groups are going to be participating in this meeting?
I have, it's all with the Cook County Jail, the County Clerk's Office, Shriver Center. There's about 10 League of Women Voters. There's about 10 groups that we're going to discuss this.
Very good, thank you.
Second item is we're going to set up, we had a meeting last week, Adam, myself, 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, Adam, myself, Chris, Valerie, at Equip for Equality. We're getting to the point where we're going to meet with the different city agencies about making their places accessible. Hopefully I'll be able to set up that meeting. We'll have the data all ready by the end of this week. Within the next 2 weeks, I want to set it up because I want to meet with all these agencies prior to the first of the year. After the first of the year, I meet with the Justice Department to figure out our next plan of attack. So I just wanted the board members to be aware of that. And lastly, the other day, 2 weeks ago, I called the Mikva Challenge. Have not heard from anybody. I did get a letter from them. I think I forwarded that letter to the board members. I'd like to have permission to start to negotiate with this organization. They've been very helpful in recruiting young people, high school students, and I think it's a great program. It's something that this agency's been involved with for the last several years, and it's worked out very well. I'd like to get permission.
I would say go right ahead and negotiate.
I would agree. I think they provided us with a great service, and it's great to see these young people out there. And with the increased use of technology, I know myself, I always turn to a teenager to try to figure out what it's all about. So I think that's good for us as well.
And roughly that's about it. I'm going to have Charles talk about all of our visitors downstairs in our extended hours. So, Charles.
Mr. Holliday, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you, Madam Chairman, fellow commissioners. Well, yesterday was the last day to file nominating petitions, and yesterday also started the first day to file objections. So we have extended the hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. Saturdays and Sundays we're working 9 to 4 p.m. We've got a lot of requests already, different groups bringing large numbers of individuals in to work up their objections. So we're utilizing our public viewing area. We have 50 laptops set up in our lower level conference room. And then any overflow will flow back into the registration division. Once we're done here today, we'll set up 10 computers around the room here as well. But over the weekend, we were pretty busy. Even some of the notable politicians were in themselves checking petitions over the weekend. So we're going to have our hands full. We're going to be very busy for the next 10 days down with the viewing of the public records. Also, on November 14th, we conducted a mock election out at the warehouse where we tested 52 e-poll books, 25 precincts, over 12 different wards that was successful. The post-election exports were also tested. A few minor changes were made and retested and found to be successful. So, that's it. So that's it for me today.
Okay, thank you. And Judge, do you have anything to add about on the poll books?
No, I guess I would just echo what Mr. Holliday had to say. The test at the warehouse was very successful. Smart updates were very quick. You know, most of them completed in 30 seconds. So those things went really well. As Mr. Holliday said, we had to make an adjustment to one of the reports that comes back into the voter registration system, but that was completed last week and deemed to be successful. So the mock has wrapped and we're locked down. That means all the firmware or software that we loaded on the poll books can be locked down now and start being applied to the tablets now. So there'll be no changes prior to the March election, which is always great to have that lockdown prior to any testing. So the anticipated changes that the board requested have been implemented into the product, and so those will be available in March.
Mr. Holliday, I don't know if you can tell, will those extended hours be sufficient for the demand that we have down there?
Well, at this time, those were the hours requested. Upon request, they can be extended further. There was hinting around to working to midnight, but we haven't gotten that request yet.
Okay. Keep our fingers crossed. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Allen, our communications director.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Last week, we had presentations with top managers and staff by 3 vendors for voting equipment, election systems and software, Dominion, and Hart InterCivic. Each presentation took up a full day, and just wanted to give you an update that that's where we are on that RFP. On another IFP, using the correct term?
Yes, you are.
We'll have the bid opening today for forms, envelopes, signage, and other printing aspects for a judge election handbook. We've been working with staff and coordinating all of the updates to the various documents to make sure that we're ready to go. We're at the second stage of the canvas mailing now, so we need to remove, extract items where the registration of the voter has changed since the first canvas and the returns, and now that we're ready to drop this mailing, but we hope that we can have that process completed by the end of this week, so we're still way beyond the 90 days needed to initiate any kind of action on those. That mailing should include about 163,000 items, and that is all for today.
Okay. We will now move to old business, infrastructure projects and changes in election administration. Is there anything additional aside from what we've discussed? Okay, and electronic poll books we just discussed. Voting equipment we discussed, and lastly, legislation. Is there anything new?
Not much happening because they're not in session, but there's some news reports that the Democratic Party is going to be introducing a bill to remove Illinois from the cross-check database. Mr. Gough and I attended a State Board of Elections hearing on that. The State Board voted 4-4, so that did not cause any change, but now apparently they're going to try it legislatively, so I will track that and let you know how it goes.
Okay. Now we'll proceed to new business, and the first is the proposed contract between the Board of Election Commissioners and Equilibrium IT Solutions.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, this is something that we've discussed and we've been working on. I've had several other companies that we've met with, and I'd like to go with this company. The price was the most reasonable, and I know this group, and I think I'd like to do business with them on this phase. There are a couple of other companies that will help us out on other items, some that are more knowledgeable of voting equipment. But for this phase on our office and infrastructure, I'd like to use this company.
Okay. And this would be for an information security assessment report, which will include an assessment of the controls, recommendations for remediation, exploring the risk and security maturity level, among other things. And this would take approximately 10 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
Maximum 10 weeks.
Maximum 10 weeks for $19,860.
Correct. Adam and I were talking, he has one other item to add to that.
What's somewhat related is that the county clerk's office is talking with us about the possibility, either for themselves or for us jointly, hiring on a staff member who would be an expert in IT security. The county's not sure if they have enough to pay for one person themselves, but the thought is maybe we could split that and share that cost. And performing this kind of an audit would be a great roadmap for any such person to get started with. So we're not sure whether we're going to do that. The conversation is just getting started, but there are many reasons that this audit is going to be very helpful for this agency.
Great. Good. Are there any questions regarding this? Okay, if there are not, is there a motion for the board to authorize its executive director to execute a contract with Equilibrium IT Solutions in the amount of $19,860 for an internal audit and assessment of the board's IT systems and security with a contract term beginning on December 5th, 2017 and concluding upon completion of the project within an estimated 6 to 10 weeks?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, and the contract is approved. Next.
We'd like to, I'm sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
would you like us to, well, it's for the executive director. We made a motion for the executive director.
He's going to execute. I didn't mean to jump in. You were paging through and I had it right here, but we were proposing a contract with Jane Ignacio,
Okay.
a professional services agreement. She provides graphic design, artistic services for the board, has been for several years now, and we would just like to renew her contract.
Okay. And do any of the commissioners have any questions regarding the contract? If not, is there a motion to approve a contract with Jane Ignacio for graphic artist services for the term of December 5th, 2017 through December 31st, 2018 in the amount of $85 per hour, not to exceed $85,000 per year without prior written authorization by the board's executive director?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Contract is approved. We next have a proposed contract with SOE Software Corporation. And is there then this is the contract which provides online poll worker training services and software.
That's correct, and again, that's the training system that we've been using, and it's apparently been working quite nicely, and we'd like to continue using it.
Are there any questions by the commissioners? If not, is there a motion to approve, to authorize our executive director to execute a 12-month contract renewal with SOE Software Corporation, doing business as Cyto, for continued online poll worker training software and services in the amount of $30,720.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes and the contract is approved. Next, we have attorney contractor agreements. Mr. Lasker?
We are gearing up for the next round of electoral board hearings. We have 29 attorneys lined up who have expressed an interest in serving as hearing officers, many of whom have served previously. I'm grateful that many of them are coming back, this being my first round. It would be nice to have some of the veterans, but also have some new faces. And as we look forward to 2019 elections, where we have the city offices on the ballot, we could have 400 to 600 or more objections. So we'll be working on perhaps increasing our numbers a little bit. But for the meantime, we've given you the list of 29 names, one of whom you've already approved a contract previously. And by the way, Ms. Goodman has been helping me get ready for the electoral board, so thanks again. It's nice to have her aboard again. But I think we've got a good team pulled together, and we'll have some good hearings this year.
And this is, all of these proposed hearing officers have the same exact agreement would have the same exact agreement with the Board of Elections.
That is correct.
And it would be, the term would be December 1st, 2017 through October 31st, 2018, and it would be for $200 per hour.
Correct.
for services.
Our agreement actually tracks the circuit court's general order regarding public members of electoral boards. So that's what we pay the hearing officers the same as what the circuit court requires for public members. I'd also just like to point out that we might not be able to assign cases to all these, but we'd like to have them all attend this training and briefing program we're having this afternoon
Okay.
When is the training scheduled?
at 1 o'clock today.
1 o'clock.
Okay.
And Adam, we've discussed this previously, but I just want to make it a record. As we prepare for 2019 and the number of cases there, I think it's important we make sure we look at, continue to examine and push for our diversity of these folks that are on this list, both in the question of making sure we have appropriate representation of African American, Latino women, things of that nature. So, so if you could provide at your convenience a kind of breakdown of this list, that would be helpful, and that can provide a roadmap to figure out how we need to make sure that we have appropriate diversity going into 2019.
I certainly will. I'm very excited to be able to be in a position where I can help impact the diversity of our hearing officer group.
If there are no further questions, is there a motion to approve the attorney contractor agreements for the term of December 1st, 2017 through October 31st, 2018, and for the amount of $200 per hour for their services? And I'll go through, do I need to go through the actual list of the 29?
Would you like me to read the names?
Sure.
We have Christopher Agrella, John Ashenden, June Brown, Demetrius Carney, Christopher Cohen, Yamil Colon, Mario Correa, Linda Crane, Nina Fain, Terrence Flynn, Martin Green, Anthony Iasco, Jamal Jackson, Samuel Jones, William Jones, David Kadzai, Mary Celeste Meehan, Joseph Morris, Lynn Ostfeld, Joe Ponsetto, Thomas Quinn, James Rojas, Jeanette Samuels, Yolanda Sayer, Maurice Sohn, Frank Tedesco, Edna Turkington, and Richard Zulke.
Is there a motion to approve attorney contractor reviews?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes and the agreements are approved. Now we will proceed with a legal report.
I think you've already heard a bit of what the legal department's been up to with working with ADA compliance and getting ready for electoral board season. We do have the training session this afternoon. We are currently in the objection filing period for the March primary. I'm not aware of any, I haven't seen any come in yet, but they could. The deadline is next week, Monday. That's when we'll receive almost all of them from either the state or the county. None of them are filed here this cycle. We had about, I think, 46 objections in the last governor's race, governor's election cycle. So we're expecting 46 to 72 is what our estimates are for the maximum that we'll receive, hopefully. And so we're preparing for that. And the first electoral board hearing will be on Monday, the 18th in the morning. And then that afternoon, we'll have the hearing officers have their initial round of hearings. The county is, again, sharing many of our hearing officers, so we've tried to coordinate that we're not having our initial hearings all on the same day. I've drafted a schedule, a proposed schedule for electoral board hearings, and I either sent it to you last night or I will as soon as this meeting is over. But the morning of the 18th will be our first to convene the board and adopt the rules.
Great. Well, we'll be here.
All right.
Then we'll proceed to the financial report. We have a balance sheet and voucher listing for the City of Chicago, 2017 appropriation number 17-10, dated December 5th, 2017, in the amount of $348,923.48. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, and the balance sheet is approved. The balance sheet and we have a balance sheet and voucher listing for the County of Cook, 2017 appropriation number 17-05, dated December 5th, 2017, in the amount of $42,545. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, and now we'll proceed to public comment. Ms. Chamberlain?
Doctor, Laura Chamberlain. Okay, I am back here talking about ballot on demand. So we're talking about the new machines that you're going to be getting. So we know that ES&S and Dominion both were unsure about hard antiseptic, but I believe that almost all of the vendors have gone to this. Have ballot on demand. So I wanted to describe to you our version of early voting from an election integrity specialist perspective. And that would be that most of the voters who are capable, who have no handicap, have no language difficulties, would vote on a paper ballot. Paper ballot with a wonderful technology called the pen, and it would speed the lines in early voting centers. It would allow people to be able to see all the ballot. I don't know how you guys vote, but this is how I vote, okay? So I don't just go down the list and vote, one right after another. I turn it over, I do the judges that I really wanted to, really looked up, I turn it over, and then there's maybe 2 or 3, contests that maybe I'm still on the edge. I give it some thought. I work my ballot. You know what I mean? I think a lot of voters are like me. And the touchscreen machines do not allow that. You can flip back and forth, but it takes forever, and it's going to clog up your lines. So why not have ballot on demand? You have laptops at early voting, that you get a printer that is compatible with the scanner that you're going to have at the early voting, and only the handicap and the language impaired and other people who would want to use it would have to vote on actually mark their ballot on one of the ballot marking devices. It will save you a fortune. It has been our estimation that you could put a ballot printer in every single early voting site for about $200,000. So printing up ballots for most of the voters. And the ballot marking devices that have been described to us, but we don't know if that's for sure what people are going to decide on. But the ballot marking devices are extremely expensive. So they're expensive, they slow down the lines, and they don't give the voters the full voting experience that I have come to love, and I'm sure other voters have come to love as well. So we're talking to the aldermen about this. We want to save money for the city. We don't want, and we want to have the voters to be able to choose a paper ballot. That is one of the really, really top priorities for our election integrity group. I want to talk to you about how we would handle this, and that is to increase the security of the vote counts. We would like that so for every day at early voting, the ballots are coming through the scanner. We would like to print up a poll tape at that time, but nobody see it. They could roll it up backwards. We've seen this done many, many times. And the judges could sign it and store it with the cartridge that would come out of that scanner for that day in a tamper-proof box that would stay at the EV site. And a new cartridge would go in. There's a lot of reasons why we would want that to happen, okay? There are glitches on the machines that happen. We would want to isolate those to single days. There are, even, possible shenanigans that would happen. We would want to isolate those to certain days. So that is our dream of early voting. Maybe two machines, ballot marking machines, to handle the handicap and the language, people with language difficulties. And the rest of the people would vote on a paper ballot at early voting. You're going to have a scanner there anyways, and one of the new scanners, and we would really appreciate you considering this. I do want to talk about the audit for March, okay? We're really, really concerned about the audit for March, the retabulation. We've been involved in two 5% retabulations that have gone completely south from our perspective. And so we would like to ask a couple things. Could the audit employees, the 5% retabulation employees, be instructed to keep their place on the touchscreen tapes in some fashion? Many of the tables don't do that. One table actually put paper clips on each side of the tape to keep their place. Many of the auditors just walk away. They just leave the tape there, and they don't even mark their place on the tape. So if they could keep their place on the tape, it would be really, really helpful. There are box-like reading devices for paper trails that we've seen in other states that isolate one of the ballots so that you can read it easily. That would be helpful as well. Could audit monitors be able to take photographs? Adam, we've been told no, but there's nothing in the law that we can find, and we've checked. Could audit monitors take photographs and videos of the audit process, the 5% retabulation? There's nothing that ties a voter to a vote, so we would like to be able to video and photograph. Could the audit monitors be able to sit? Last time we were not able to sit in the room where we're not touching anything, we're just watching, and we weren't able, it was almost, they were getting back at us. The Chicago Board of Elections absolutely abused us on the last audit. And it was a very arduous process. It went for 11 days. It would be very wonderful for the citizens to be able to sit. We're going to be bringing citizens down there. Please allow us to sit within the room where we can watch. And stop abusing us. It would be very nice. Could we have the paper ballots that are being retabulated fed into the optical scanners face up so that we could audit one race visually without slowing down the process? All they would have to do is just flip it facing up, put it in the scanner, and we can do our job, okay? That would be really, really wonderful and very cooperative of you. Okay, those are our requests for the audit process, and one last thing, I wanted to ask Mr. Holliday, the glitch on the electronic poll books that disenfranchised the 17-year-olds in March of 2016, has that been fixed?
Will, I think what we need to do is take your questions.
Am I ever going to get an answer? This is a question.
Yes, you will.
How will I do that?
you will contact you with the meeting.
My email is on
Sure.
there. That would be
Or
great.
that, or when you're coming up at the
Thanks.
next meeting.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. Okay, I
Wonderful.
did not receive any other requests for public comment. Mr. Lasker, is there a need for executive session?
I have none.
Okay, if there is none, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting on December 12th, 2017 at 9 a.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.